Councillors, the hour is 5 o'clock and I'll just read a little bit here. As we have apologies, Mayor and Deputy Mayor for this meeting in accordance with the Council's Code of Meeting Practice, I now call upon councillors to nominate for the position of Chair for this council meeting. If there are two or more councillors who nominate for this position, I will then conduct a ballot. So if you call for nominations, please.
I'd like to nominate Judy Smith. I'll second that nomination.
Any further nominations? Okay. I declare Judy you are Chair for this meeting, and that will be recorded in the minutes.
Look, I think we'll get started then, and I will declare the meeting open. Okay, in accordance with the Local Government Act of 1993, Cowra Council is recording this meeting and will upload the recording to the Council's website. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being recorded and having that recording published in the public domain. Please ensure that when you speak at council meetings, you're respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive marks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We have apologies from Mayor Ruth Fagan, Deputy Mayor Paul Smith, Councillor Bill West and General Manager Paul Devery. There are no further apologies. So I'll ask councillors and staff to please indicate in relation to any interests you need to declare for tonight's agenda, what report or item you're declaring the interest in, whether it's pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and what is the nature of the interest.
Choice. I declare an interest in item 3.2, donation to the Cowra of Stedford. There's two of my family members are on the committee. Thank you. We'll leave the room. It's a non-pecuniary.
Thank you. And just going back, I'd like a mover for those apologies, if I may. Councillor Delbo, seconded Councillor Downing, and I will put that to the meeting. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? Declare it carried. Thank you. Okay, we have no presentations. There is one member of the public who has registered to speak on an item on the agenda. Richard Neate, who'll speak to item 3.2, donation request for the Cowra of Stedford. So, Mr. Neate, if you would like to come to the lectern. Yes. It's okay. Cheryl's will. Thank you. And we'll just turn that on. And if you would like to just give us your name, and then you have 5 minutes to speak.
Yeah, my name's Richard Neate. I'm the Treasurer of the Cowra of Stedford. I've made an application to get a cap on the fees we're going to pay for utilisation of the Civic Centre for our Stedford. We have had in previous years a cap on our fees because of, well, I'll go into some details of what this Stedford's happening. It's very grateful of what has happened in the past with the cap, and the Stedford is starting in the in next week in the Club Cowra for 2 days, where we try out all our systems and processes. And on the 13th of May, we'll start in the Civic Centre with instrumental and vocal. And we'll be running 3 weeks straight from 8:30 in the morning till about 9, 10 o'clock at night, 21 days. It's a pretty big deal for Cowra. It'll be the biggest cultural event in Cowra, and we get many visitors from Canberra, the Riverina. We have complaints from the Tourism Association because they can't get any accommodation in this town for 3 weeks, and I say, well, that's what we're here for. We're a purely volunteer organisation. We're run by a committee of about 10 or 12. President is Marianne, and we have about 65, 70 volunteers come in during the sessions to help us run the organisation, etc. Last year we made a loss of around about $9,000, but we've made some adjustments to our pricing, and we should recover that without any hassle. We were able to cover it with our reserve. However, mainly because of COVID, where the people were not a bit unsure of what the climate was, etc., was a reduction in our entries and that sort of thing. However, this year we've had a quite a large increase in our entries. We've had 200 extra dancers this year, which means we've had 2 more days of staging. Last year we had $61,000 odd in prize money, some of which was donated by very generous sponsors. For example, the aria, operatic aria, has a $10,000 first prize and another $8,000 or $10,000 worth of other prizes to go with it. And we attract top operatic stars from Sydney and Melbourne to this event. We have 18 coming this year. We have a total of about 2,800 people coming to perform, and they bring their mothers and their fathers and their grandmothers, etc. And we are not in the entertainment business. We're in the business of producing a competition, and that means that people come to see Little Mary singing "Mary Had a Little Lamb" or whatever, and they go again. So we can't charge a lot for our sessions. So our maximum fee for an adult to come to one of our sessions is $8, and some people are only in there for 5 minutes. However, that's we can't do much about that. So we're somewhat limited in our number of how much money we can earn to pay for all this prize money. So that's one of the reasons why we need that fairly large. We need the cap on what we do. The overall price that we were quoted for the Civic Centre was $43,000 for the 3 weeks, and they've done a marvellous job in the last 2 or 3 years. Done an absolutely lovely job for us. But if we were to have to pay that amount of money, we would be out of business within 1 year. So that's the essence of what I'm here to talk about. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Neat, and best of luck for what is always a wonderful series of competitions. We move on to confirmation of the minutes of the last council meeting. Do we have someone to move that? Yes. Thank you, Councillor. Move Councillor Wright, seconded Councillor Downing. Any comments on those minutes? I'll put that those be a true and accurate record. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Declare that carried. And we move on to page 32, the recommendations from the General Committee. There's somewhere here to sign those, isn't it? Okay. Item 3.1, from the Director of Corporate Services, the Cowra Sport and Rec Council minutes. There's a 6-point recommendation. We have a mover, Councillor Downing, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Delbo.
With an amendment to point number 6, please.
Okay, well, we might allow you to talk about that amendment and see if Councillor Downing is in favour. Otherwise, we'll have to get someone else to say.
That's okay. Just where we use the word apply for, I'd like to change that to council supports an application for Play Your Way. And the reasoning behind that is the timeframes. We might be too close to get an application in this round, but there will be other future rounds.
Okay.
And I think that was discussed in our committee meeting that we needed to apply for that. So
you're
that's
happy to
I'm happy with the wording.
support
Yes.
that?
Yep.
Okay. Would you like to speak, Councillor Downing?
Just briefly, we went through most of it at our general committee. So this is a couple of minutes announcing our new members after we've had our AGM. There were grants mentioned. We discussed new facilities or improved facilities at Sid Callis in particular for the women's sporting teams, which I'm happy to see will possibly be in the budget for the next financial year. And then I just wanted to say that congratulations to Kai Garrett, who we've actually supported in this chamber, and he's a product of our local little athletics club, and he has won his 4th national title in hammer throw last week. So congratulations, Kai.
Wonderful. The seconder like to speak?
Through the chair, I just wanted to speak on the point number 6. I would personally like to see an application placed into the first round of Play Your Way grants that are due this Friday, and pushed very hard for that previously in the chamber. But as a result of resourcing available at the moment at council, we won't meet that deadline. However, I would like to encourage that we continue to apply for grants in regards to sporting facilities, and I'm fully aware that Play Your Way grant will have multiple rounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? Councillor Kiss.
Potentially an amendment only, and I congratulate Councillor Sharon for advising of that wording. That was actually one of my suggestions. Another one is simply the grant itself. I looked one up and it was called Play Our Way. I'm not sure if it's Your Way or Our Way, but I couldn't find a Your Way one, so I thought, being that obviously it's an important one, we should correct that in the minutes. But other than that, fully support.
I don't have any information on that, but it looks like the director does. It is Play Our Way.
Yep.
So again, would the mover and the seconder accept that amendment? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Further comments or questions? Right of reply, perhaps not needed? No. Thank you. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Aye. Against? Declare it carried. Thank you. Item 3.2, a donation request from Cowra Stedford, which has been spoken about this evening. We'll just wait till Councillor Wright has left the room. Okay, there's a 2-point recommendation. Moved Councillor Watt, seconded Councillor Downing. Councillor Watt.
Thank you. Do we call you acting chair?
I'm, as everyone in the chamber knows, over the many years where I've talked about the Cowra Stedford, I'm a great supporter of the Stedford committee and of the great things that the capacity to be involved in something like the Stedford can do for local people. While I sometimes need to work on my slow speaking and pronunciation, being able to speak publicly in a space like this as a councillor in many ways is due to my many years of speech and drama at the Cowra Stedford. The Stedford is a fantastic event that brings many people to Cowra over those 21 days, as we were told earlier, and provides the Cowra and the surrounding areas much opportunity to display those talents and engage in the arts. As the chair of Cowra Tourism, I definitely concur that the Stedford puts a strain on our facilities, but what a great problem to have.
The Stedford, as mentioned, is run by volunteers who dedicate a huge amount of time and resources to this event. And I've seen that many times over the years. These people give a huge amount of their hours, not just in the 21 days of the Stedford itself, but a long time leading up to make that happen. And I think it's very fitting that the Stedford will be the first event of our newly renovated Civic Centre. And so, as was mentioned, this isn't a group looking to make a profit, but a group looking to continue this great event and provide the opportunity for so many people to be involved. So I'd encourage everyone to support the cap put in place here, so that we can have the fantastic Stedford we've had for many years.
Thank you, Councillor Downing.
Yes, I would just like to second everything that Councillor Watt has said. I too wholeheartedly support the cap of $12,000 for the Stedford. I'd just like to mention that my husband works at a special needs day program, and they wholeheartedly enjoy the Stedford, and they're still practicing it from year to year to have their act ready on the day. And it's amazing, it's inclusive for everyone. Also, I note that the council increases our budget to accommodate this donation, so I'd like to suggest that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Right of reply? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. And could someone, thank you. Item 3.3, a 3-point recommendation from the Australian chapter of the World Peace Bell Association. Thank you, Councillor Downing and Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've discussed these recommendations in full last committee meeting, but basically what it is the Peace Bell Committee was given or left a bequest from Margaret Weir, and we were left the amount of $50,000, which we can choose to spend. It's being held in trust by our council, and we have come up with some great ideas, we thought, and it was very pleasing that everyone, the other councillors, supported us as well. So things around guest speakers for World Peace Day and some ways to increase local knowledge of our Peace Bell and where it came from, and then maybe expand that to nationally and internationally as well.
Thank you. Seconder, further comments?
I just like to congratulate the committee for coming up with this, for the work that they do, besides devising a project to use this donation in the best way possible. And I think it'd be good if, when it does come to fruition, these two dot points that the Weir Trust, the Margaret Weir Trust, be notified of how the money is being spent, because they like supporting people, but they like to also hear where it's been used. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give you right of reply. Any further speakers? I'll just say that I think that it's they're both terrific ideas that will really enhance people's understanding of the Peace Bill, and certainly enhance people's interest, I think, in World Peace Day, because the guest speaker who's mooted is terrific. So thank you. Right of reply.
Just to clarify that it's not actually from the Weir Trust, it's a bequest in the will from Margaret Weir. So it's a different thing, but we can write to her and tell them what we've used it for.
Thank you. I'll put that recommendation. Those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Item 3.4, legislative changes to the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. Moved Councillor Delbo, seconded Councillor Kiss. Councillor Dilbo.
I'll just say that there's 3 recommendations there in front of us this evening, and we'll get to talk about these a bit further as the night goes, but they've all been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Yeah, much as Councillor Delbo said too, and you know, obviously down the track, yes, we're going to be affected somewhat with some budgetary implications, but you know, risk management is imperative for the proper functioning of a council. We need to embrace these changes.
Thank you. Further speakers? We have discussed this at some length last week and at earlier meetings, and they will be discussed in future, of course. Do we need a right of reply? Thank you. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Aye. Against? Declare it carried. On to 3.5, the Director of Infrastructure and Operations. First report, proposed introduction of the dam safety levy, something which we again have discussed at some length. Can we have a mover? Councillor Delbo, and seconded Councillor Downing. We do, given that we have 3 of our number missing, we all have to work a bit harder, don't we? Councillor Delbo.
This report was at our last meeting. It has changes to a levy that will be charged from the state government to us at local government. It certainly was not received very well, and to my knowledge we are placing a submission in for that. But this is one of 2 reports we have here in front of us tonight where I feel the state government are cost shifting, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Downing.
Here.
Succinctly spoken. Further comments or questions? Right. Yes, Councillor.
Only to add briefly that I was just about to use the words cost shifting and Councillor Delbo jumped in. So yes, very much so.
Yeah. Very, very much a matter of governments of other levels expecting the local government sector to do more with less. Would you like a right of reply? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Item 3.6 is on the review of the asset management policy. Again, this has been discussed at some length, but the recommendation is we defer adoption of the policy until we've had opportunity for further discussion. Have a mover? Councillor Kiss, and seconded Councillor Watt. Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Only as it says that I believe this is something that we need to discuss more fully.
Thank you. I'll just mention that I'm not Madam Mayor. You may call me a lot of things, but you shouldn't call me that. Thank you. Councillor Watt. Further comments or questions? Councillor Downing.
Yeah, just to clarify that we are deferring the adoption of this plan. Our asset management policy is a really important document. It's about infrastructure and all the things that we own and manage as council. And we have ageing infrastructure and different things like that. So I would, for one, be very happy if we could discuss it further.
Further speakers? Right of reply? Put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Item 3.7 from the Director of Environmental Services, Development Application 14-2024, Lot 365. This is a carport. Do we have moved Councillor Delbo, seconded Councillor Downing?
Thank you. We have this development application in front of us tonight on the grounds of receiving 1 objection. The objection is in regards to blocking of sunlight to the north facing of the neighbour's house. My understanding from the development application is that it's an existing driveway and the carport would complement that. There's 16 conditions in the development application. Just have a quick look at my notes here. Carport is on the southern side, utilising the existing access crossing from Shelley Street. So I think it's, in my opinion, it's just an extension of an existing use. The applicant has also provided shadow diagrams to address the concern raised, and as a result, in accordance with our DCP, a minimum of 3 hours of solar access has been found to help dry the clothes on the clothesline. I support this application.
Thank you. Councillor Downing.
I too support the application, and for the same reasons. And I think that the complainant, thank you for taking the time and telling us what you think, and then which is where the process is supposed to work. And then we have that has been fixed to the best of everyone's abilities, so that there's a great result for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Further speakers?
Just a question, probably taken on notice. They found 3 hours of sunlight to dry the washing. Is that after all the solar panels taken what they need, or do they get first opportunity at the sunlight now?
Would the director care to comment on this?
Through the chair, I don't think there's any primary or secondary roles as far as washing or solar panels. It's primarily to open space.
I might just add that the use of renewable technology on a clothesline is putting it out in the sun and the wind. Further comments, questions? Right of reply? I'll put the motion bearing in mind that it is a DA. Those in favour? Against? Declare it carried unanimously. Item 3.8, development application number 120 of 2023, lot 1, DP 3623H7. We have a mover for this, Councillor Watt, and seconded Councillor Kiss. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This DA is coming to us at Council because it does request some variations to our plans. However, those variations specifically about the height of the shed. However, with the topography of the land here, the shed largely will not be visible from the main street. So therefore, the changes in the colour and the changes in the height do not have the same impact on the streetscape as they would in other situations. So I'm happy to support these amendments.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, happy to support the recommendation, exactly what Councillor Watt said. Thank you.
Further comments? Councillor Delbo.
Thank you. I'll also note there was one comment provided in the application. I wasn't in a formal objection, just a comment in regards to stormwater, which has been addressed in the application.
Thank you. And I would also add that one of the reasons for the height of the building exceeding by 1.87 metres, I think, the recommended height, is in order to be able to capture that stormwater effectively. Further comments? Right of reply? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Declare it carried unanimously. Item 4.1, Section 355 Committee Draft Minutes from the CBD Committee. Councillor Delbo as the chair of that committee, and Councillor Downing also on the committee. Would you like to speak?
Thank you. Through the chair, I just wanted to reassure everybody that we are on track as far as our timeframes go. At this particular meeting, a summary of the workshop, like the raw data, I suppose you could say, was presented to the committee for consideration, and we had an update on what we thought was Team Cowra at that point, which is a group of residents who have put their hand up since the workshop to move some of the recommendations forward. They're a very energetic bunch, just as the CBD committee is, and we've been able to have our April meeting since this, but everything is on track and going well. Thank you.
Second, wish to speak?
Just to point out in the minutes that it says in the Can Do Cowra, we're calling them Cowra Can Do now. they had some suggestions, and one of our committee members, Jesse Murphy, did his homework and had pictures from other areas in our region with ideas and things. And we have an agreement on some planter boxes that will be made by the Cowra Men's Shed. And so we're working on that as one of our first things to do.
Excellent. Further comments, questions? I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Following Cowra Can Do, there's been a lot of interest in the CBD committee, I think, and a lot of admiration for what you do, and some people who were interested in perhaps joining or helping in some way. Is there any mechanism for any of that in terms of subcommittees or anything like that?
Through the chair, the CBD committee is, my understanding, is only in place until the end of this term of us as councillors, and that was appointed by council. However, the Cowra Can Do committee is a group of community members that place their interest at the workshop, and as a result from that, if there are further people that would be interested in joining that committee, then if they would like to make themselves known to myself as the chair of the CBD committee or Councillor Watt, I'm sure we would welcome them with open arms. Thank you.
Thank you, and there might then be, if you wanted, some publicity around that. Any further comments? Councillor Watt.
Just briefly to follow up on that, we have actually in our second meeting had a number of new members of the Cowra Can Do committee that hadn't put their name down at the first meeting. So we're very happy to have more people join and more people take part.
Wonderful, thank you. Further discussion, Councillor Wright.
Just a question. So the Can Do committee is been formed out of the CBD workshop, and they just organise their own meetings. There's nothing to do with council.
I might allow the chair to answer that.
Yeah, it's my understanding it's an informal arrangement that is not associated with council. It's through shared interests, and their first two things that they've achieved so far is obviously coming up with a name or agreeing on the name for the group, and also the plant holders. And one of the community members, or two community members that are pushing it quite strongly, is Ashley Field and Jesse Murphy. Both Ash has a business in the main street, and Jesse works for a regional business, and I think it's important for us to share the workload in this space. It's quite a busy little workspace to be in, and I think the key going forward is all of us working together in the one boat, rowing in the one direction at the one time. And I think that that this is being achieved through slow movement and coming together. And I think they've held 2 meetings. Is that correct, Erin, now? I haven't been to one meeting yet. It's always a clash. But yeah, they've had 2 informal meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just ask a quick question following that. Are you thinking of rowing for the Olympics? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, no, it's good. I congratulate the CBD committee on what they have achieved so far, and I understand when you said it'll be up for re-nomination after the next election, as far as the councillors go on that, but I think it still needs to continue on. And this subcommittee sounds like a good thing, but as long as they don't get left on an island somewhere that they can come back to through the CBD committee to ask council for some support in different things that to try and enable things to happen there. That's all. It sounds a very good system, but they could be left on their own if it's totally devoid of another body, unless they want to go down a sort of Chamber of Commerce type thing and get involved in all that. Not saying that business Cowra or something, but anyway, we'll see what happens. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Further discussion?
So Peter, Jesse, Murphy and Ashley Field, who are pushing it quite hard and actually getting a lot of support in the community, are both on the CBD committee.
Thank you. Right of reply. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Aye. Against? Declare it carried. Item 5.1 from the Director of Corporate Services, that Council note the investments and financial report for last month. Councillor Watt, Councillor Delbo. Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we near the end of financial year, we are seeing the unrestricted funds amount available reduce, which has been flagged by many councillors over the last 12 months, as they, while unrestricted, are still allocated throughout our budget and being spent accordingly. It's good to see our average interest rate on investments sitting at 4.99%. It's a very strong position in the current climate, so very happy with that. The rate collection continues to be slightly exceeding the rates in previous financial years. So congratulations to the team and keep up the good work.
Yes, seconder wish to speak.
I've got similar notes on my page, Councillor White. I just want to add to it that this month, April, we will see 7 of our investments mature on term, and next month, May, is 6. And hence will be rolled over into new agreements with hopefully a higher interest rate than previous years. I'd also like to comment on the rates. On the 30th of June last year, our arrears was close to 1.7 million, and in this report it has indicated come the 2nd of April this year, our arrears is now sitting at 952,835. So I just wanted to thank the Cowra ratepayers for staying on top of their rate commitments. I know it's been hard with the cost of living increasing across many households. So for that, I'd like to thank our community. And then I also noted that we will have a loan repaid very, very soon. The water treatment plant automation loan with NAB will be repaid on the 18th of June. My understanding it was originally 3.8 million, and we will be finishing that up very shortly. So it's nice to have our loans repaid. Thank you.
Further discussion, comments, questions? Right of reply perhaps not needed. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Item 6.1, I think, is on page 5.2. I was there already. Yes. My head was moving ahead. The Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee and the legislative changes, a recommendation that we adopt the draft terms of reference. This is the second of, I think, 3 recommendations on the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee changes tonight. Do we have a mover? Councillor Watt, first hand up. Councillor Delbo, marginally second. Councillor Watt.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. We are working hard tonight with a reduced room. So as we all know, this has come to us because the Office of Local Government has increased the requirements and on council's ARIC, and therefore there needs to be a change in the terms of reference provided to ARIC about their roles and responsibilities. Firstly, I'd like to thank Ron Gillard, a current ARIC member, for meeting with us last week to answer our questions about how ARIC works and what these changes will mean in reality. ARIC has been in place for councils for some time, and in businesses and organisations seeking best practice, it is vital. Audit and risk management are essential functions for many businesses such as my own, and it is imperative that we have sufficient levels of oversight and forward thinking in balance. In my business, risk management is an element of life or death. One of the core elements of our risk management is having good policies and procedures and regularly auditing them to ensure they are being adequately implemented and identify any areas for improvement. This should be the standard for any business or organisation seeking to provide the best service for their community, make good decisions, and protect their employees. The other core part is continuous improvement, or having the approach to always be seeking a way to improve what we are doing. This is done through a range of methods, such as keeping abreast of developments in the industry, incidents with other operators, or reviewing the friction or failure points in your operations. It's about being open to new ideas, being agile and adaptive to change, and learning from the past. The best way to mitigate the probability and consequences of risk is to be proactive. Proactive in ensuring we are not undertaking work that is high risk, that we have appropriate plans in place for if something goes wrong. We as councillors have a higher responsibility in our provision of public services and the use of public funds. While these changes will be a significant impact on our budget, with an increase of around $32,000 for the next financial year, these changes are essential to ensure that ARIC has the capacity to deal with the full terms of reference outlined here tonight and the full role of responsibilities, as well as our ability to recruit the skill and expertise required for this committee and ensure appropriate resources from our side as council. I'd encourage everyone to support the adoption of these draft terms of reference.
Seconder wish to speak?
Yes, please. Thank you, Councillor Watt. I think you've covered all bases. I just wanted to add to that in a previous recommendation we had here tonight that we would take the ARIC report to our information meeting, which we did do, and from that we have 3 additional changes that are now noted in this report. The changes to ARIC come in effect the 1st of July, which is really not that far away. And I just wanted to add, I just want to ask one question, please, that goes to another item we'll talk about later tonight. Is in front of us tonight we have the terms of reference. I just wanted to ask, what is the difference between a terms of reference and a committee charter, please?
That may need to be taken on advice.
Might take that on notice, so I don't know the answer to that right now.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get that to you as soon as possible. Further discussion, comments, questions? Councillor Wright.
Was that a community charter or a committee charter?
Committee.
Thank
Further
you.
comments?
Yes, I support this. I think it's good to have have these people look at council's business from an outside level on what we're doing and provide advice on how we can improve it. And I look forward to it happening, and I hope we do get enough good nominations from people that are interested in accepting the opposition as of members of our ARIC. Some people that already are the external members of ARIC feel that it's a bit, it is over-regulated a bit, that it's not just a committee to offer advice, but it could be seen to be offering one solution sort of thing. But anyway, we'll see what it happens. And this, if we want to operate an ARIC, we got to do it under the Office of Local Government rules. And I can see the benefit in it. And I think we need to remember that if we think something on council needs to be looked at by ARIC, it's got to be referred to council by council to ARIC. They don't automatically come in and say, "Oh, we're going to look at this and that." They will on some certain policies and so forth, but it works both ways, and because they'll determine a list of internal audits that they'll do over a period of 4 years, I think it is, and they'll go through that over that time, but if something comes up between that, it can be referred to them to have a look at it. It's, but it's not a hatchet committee. It's a committee there to help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very briefly, just to highlight and concur with Councillor Wright, the best way to approach these issues is to both be undertaking regular auditing, but make sure that you're dealing with these situations in the live element that you're in. There's no use having a calendar where you read a document every 4 years and you haven't analysed how it works in the meantime or been able to be responsive. So I really want to thank Councillor Wright for raising that and hope that those values come through in this new ARIC with these new draft terms of reference.
Yeah, I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. We now move on to item 6.1 on page 200. From the Director of Infrastructure and Operations, the minutes of the Traffic Committee, and there is a 3-point recommendation. We have a mover, Councillor Watt, and Councillor Kiss seconding. Councillor Watt.
My voice is getting a bit tired. Thank you, as always, to the Traffic Committee for their ongoing work. Happy to note the minutes as provided today. I might leave item 2 for Councillor Kiss to address explicitly, but in great support of recommendation 3 in ensuring, in moving the parking conditions around the specified area in Bow Street to be rear in, which will make it very consistent with the rest of town, and I think makes a lot of sense, in looking at ensuring our CBD is of a good quality. It makes a lot of sense to keep that consistent throughout. I'd also like to note the consideration of amending the disabled parking at the Breakout Cafe, which I think is excellent that this is being reviewed by the Traffic Committee. I know a number of users of that space have raised some questions and concerns about the setup, so adding a second there would be excellent, or moving the existing one to the, this is testing my knowledge, to the south would be excellent. Happy to support that, and of course in support of item 2 in the recommendation, but I would leave it to my colleague to talk to.
Thank you. Just noting that the parking outside the breakout isn't part of this recommendation. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councillor Watt. Yes, I do agree with recommendation 3. I think that is quite a good incentive, 45-degree rear-in parking into the Bow Street outside the River Park. I see no reason why that shouldn't work very well. I know it'll prevent a few more damages on my bumper at the front anyway. Sorry, my husband's probably watching this. Maybe not. All right. And yes, look, obviously, these are just the formalities that we need to go to close the main road. We don't close the main road very often. When we do it, something very significant, important to the whole community. And obviously, NAIDOC is one of those. We pride ourselves on being a very inclusive town, and we're very proud of the NAIDOC March and how well people have participated in it. So I look forward to joining that again on the 8th of July. I support the recommendations. Thank you.
Further discussion. Councillor Downing.
I have a little bit of a question, and then obviously as a mum of 4 footballers, I'm happy they're going to reverse parking at River Park as well. So that's a great change, I think. But I just had a question about the Busby Lane traffic conditions. So that's where you come in near Coles, where the trucks go into Coles. And what are we proposing to do there?
Look, excuse me. Through the chair, the item was raised in general business by the police representative,
yep.
And we took it on notice effectively to provide a report. His verbal report at the committee was that there was insufficient room for that to be a two-way section between Macquarie Street and the lane that runs. I can't remember the name of that lane. Anyway,
Doused Lane.
Doused Lane.
Yeah. Good work. Okay, and also can I maybe suggest perhaps something to take to the Traffic Committee to do with Busby Car Park? that we maybe look at marking some lines on it and also the arrows where it's a one-way near the top Coles car park, perhaps. Yeah, but it needs marking. It is one way, but it just needs new marking on it. The arrows aren't evident, apparently.
Thank you. Further discussion, councillor Wright.
Whereabouts in Liverpool Street is Liverpool Lane?
Liverpool Lane runs off Ina Drive, it's parallel to Liverpool Street, but the Liverpool Lane properties don't have vehicular access off Liverpool Street. They come in through the lane at the rear.
All right. So it's between,
So it's parallel to Liverpool Street.
yeah, halfway up there, opposite the entry into the emergency department of the hospital sort of thing, isn't it? Right.
Thank you.
Thank
Further
you.
discussion?
Yeah, the next question was the double barrier lines. Are they no passing lines from Pax Grant out to Lower Road?
Again, that was an item raised in through the chair. That was an item raised in general business from the New South Wales Police representative. The fact is that vehicles entering from Allura Road or opposite on from the intersection on the opposite side could find themselves in the position where that they enter the traffic lane and find themselves confronted with an overtaking vehicle, similar to the recently completed double barrier line on the Young Road at Noonbinna to address the same sort of issue, so that people who, for example, are turning left and looking left may see themselves might find themselves confronted with a vehicle overtaking.
Thank you. Yeah.
That one was for further investigation as well with the TFNSW people.
Thank you. Any further comments? Right of reply? I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Item 6.2 from the Director of Infrastructure and Operations, the regional, these acronyms confuse me, but yes, the Regional Emergency Road Repair Fund proposed allocations, and thank you to the Director for presenting this to us earlier and enabling us to have, I think, a good understanding and good discussion of it. We have a mover, Councillor Delbo, seconder, Councillor Watt. Thank you. Councillor Delbo.
I just want to say that when I put a muzzle on my dog earlier tonight, that was the noise that he made. He didn't like it very much, but I am one TV remote down in the house. Anyway, this report, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the staff for compiling this report. It's an excellent strategic direction for us, knowing what we will be covering over the next 4 years as far as roadworks go, with the combination of 2 grant funds by the state government, that being the Regional Emergency Road Repair Fund and the Regional and Local Roads Repair Program for natural disasters.
Well done.
I wrote it down. I wanted to commend Cowra Council on the level of work they have been undertaking with our roads across our local government area. I travel all different ways and use the roads all the time, and when you leave our shire, you certainly notice the difference. So congratulations on having as many crews out as you possibly can doing roadworks at the same time. I have noted that the distance of gravel resheeting and grading is extensive at 694 kilometres. Is that for 1 year, Director of Engineering?
Through the chair, that's the total length of unsealed roads in the council area.
Oh, okay.
Just shy of 700 kilometres in total. So that investing that proposed funding in that asset allows us to resheet on a approximately an 11-year interval instead of a 17-year interval.
Thank you so much for that clarification. In saying that, bringing down the interval from 17 to 11 would certainly be well received, and we've been able to increase our level of service to our community and to those that are regularly on gravel roads. Thank you.
Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Director, for those clarifications. Took the words out of my mouth, Councillor Delbo. We're on the same track. Just to add that it's fantastic to see that the eligible works in this were expanded, which has allowed us to expand our plans to spend our resources on gravel sheeting and grading in particular, and that the work on regional roads was prioritised by the state government, which is why we have this injection of funds here, and that will be, as noted here, this will be work going through to the 31st of October 2027. Also to note that while the majority of the funding is on those two projects of $370,000 extra to gravel resheeting and $300,000 extra to gravel road grading, the remainder will be spent on sealed road maintenance, pavement heavy patching and shoulder widening all through the Shire, including villages, rural sealed roads and Cowra streets, which I think is fantastic. Great work again.
Further discussion. Councillor Wright.
It's a very comprehensive report, and which needs to be, because we've been given the government funding to fix the roads, to maintain the roads, and a lot of that's been the event has come out of 3 wet years, has led to our road, the Shire roads, being impacted by the wet weather, plus the regional roads not being able to maintain their strength with the heavy traffic on them while the conditions were wet. One positive outcome of this, it puts pressure on us to get the money, or doesn't put pressure on myself, puts pressure on the department to get the work done. But in fixing our roads going forward, a lot of roads will be fixed to a better standard than they would have been now, and they will not, and it will be further out before they need other major work done to them. So it should help us with our road maintenance overall. Thank you.
Council is well aware, and has been well aware for many years via the results of our biennial community satisfaction surveys, that rural gravel roads have the lowest satisfaction rating for all council services. We have never had a lot of fat in our budget to enable us to work on those to the standard we would like to. So we're very grateful for this funding and the continuation of Roads to Recovery and so on, which will hopefully enable us to improve this service, improve the conditions of the roads for people who use them, and improve customer satisfaction in that regard. So let's hope that the weather gods are kind to us and we are able to do the work that we would like to do. Further discussion? Right, a reply.
Thank you, fellow councillors, for your contribution to this report. I very much appreciate it. I just wanted to end with, if that's okay, just to remind people that when roadworks are being conducted, it is a workplace for our contractors and council staff, and should the sign say a particular speed, I encourage people to be compliant with that space. As I say, this is people's workplaces. We do want to get everybody home safe and sound at the end of the day, and I'm sure that they would appreciate you being safe around them to make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. We move on to item 7.1 on page 212 from the Director of Environmental Services, proposal to vary the Access Incentive Scheme grant funding for Lot 2 on Richards Drive in Cowra. We have a Councillor Kiss, Councillor Downing, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, as you can see, Cowra Aero Club has applied for funding from our Access Incentive Scheme grant to the amount of $9,506, and this is to improve their access to the premises and their disabled facilities. Our Access Committee has unanimously recommended this application. We've explored it thoroughly, and we've been very welcome to attend and visit the site and talk to those who are involved with the Aero Club as well. So they've been very fully supportive of us coming and having a look. Now, I understand and I acknowledge that the works have already commenced, and in fact that's why variation is being sought. Our eligibility says that the work hasn't to have been started, and I'm wary of setting a precedent of requesting variations to this eligibility. However, just as in the application that we'd recently approved and has since gone through in Kendall Street, discussions with the council staff had preceded the works itself. And I would like to also just remind councillors that the discussions took place prior to Christmas, during which time we then obviously had the Christmas break, the January break. I had received emails, which I found out later was obviously during my illness, from the applicant. So I was nearly a month late in responding to that as well, during which time the applicant had taken upon himself to get directly in contact with council because I wasn't answering, which I've apologise for. So there were certainly attempts to get the application in, and as said, the work has started. Now, Cowra Aero Club is a valuable community organisation, prides itself on giving everyone the opportunity to experience flight, and these accessible additions to their clubhouse can only serve to make flying available to even more of our residents. So I urge my fellow councillors to support this application for Council's Access Incentive Fund. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kiss. And I'm sure that all councillors are equally wary of setting precedents and would assess any application on a case-by-case basis. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too was just going to say that there is no precedent set here because each case is individually assessed by all the councillors when we receive it at the time. Wow, what a difference $10,000 in the Access Incentive Scheme makes. Great that we passed that one. Nice to see the community using this. Obviously, we would prefer the works not to be started from as per the policy, but happy to help and happy to accept anything. I would like to say to the community that who doesn't already know that we offer this money, that come and have a look, come and speak to our staff and find out about it. The more places we make accessible to our community for all community members is a bonus for us. And hopefully we will spend the budget this year and budget again for it next year. Thank you.
Further discussion, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councillor Kiss. I think we were all aware of your restrictions, and I actually reached out to the Aero Club and helped them prepare this application as I knew what you weren't able to at the time. And note, as everyone has, this is before us because it is eligible in all parts except for the part where they have already started works. It meets every other form of eligibility, and one of the reasons why that we're in this situation is because there's a fairly significant event coming up for the Aero Club in May, the 75th anniversary, and they were very they really wanted to make sure this was all done in time, and they're a very active group that moves very quickly. They've done a lot of the work themselves on the development of the new Aero Club over the past few years, and I think it's fantastic that we have these grants available so that community groups like that can make sure that when they open these facilities, they are completely up to standard. So very happy to support this motion, and I hope you all come along to the opening to the 75th anniversary. I will just add, if I'm allowed,
Yes.
thank you so much. I want to congratulate the applicant on getting the application in. I was reassured that staff have been involved in the process to foresee that it is compliant. I have one comment that is for the Director of Environmental Services, that it wasn't until I was some way through the report that I noted that Council owns the site. Is that correct? Yeah. If going forward, should we have other applications, could we please include that in the introduction so we can declare that to the community up front? Thank you.
Further discussion and apologies for my momentary inattention, which will be explained in a minute. Councillor Wright, did you wish to speak?
Yeah, as Councillor Debo just said, the Cowra Aero Club has had to relocate to a new hangar with the sale of their old existing hangar, and so it's a new facility being built. And when you're building a new facility, things have to happen as they go without holding things up too much. And it looks like some of the disability access entry points needed to be implemented to maintain the project under a timetable, because I think they did get grant funding for it as well. So they probably got to execute a grant on time, and I wish them all well, because this is a sort of a community type hangar. It's not, they're not out there as a private business or anything, and but they still got to abide by certain regulations regarding access. So I wish them well.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Sorry, can I just clarify? Council owns the land, but Council doesn't own the building.
Thank you. Right of reply. Okay, I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. Thank you. We move on to item 7.2 on page 254, which is the draft community participation plan. And the reason I was having quick chats was that I had just realised, having read this, that there is no recommendation at the top of item 7.2. So can I ask your indulgence and ask you all to turn to page 256, and the wording will come from the second paragraph there, taking out "it is proposed," and the recommendation will be that Council endorse the public exhibition of the draft policy in accordance with the community engagement strategy for a period of 28 days. And second dot point, a further report will be provided to Council for the formal adoption of the draft policy at the completion of the exhibition period, considering any submissions made. Everyone okay with that? Okay, thank you. And thank you, Director. Can we have a mover, Councillor Wright, and a seconder, Councillor Downing? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, with that clarification, I'm quite happy to move that these two plans be put on public exhibition for everyone to see what how we're going to become involved with them, and have any feedback so we can refine the plans. And that's about it.
Thank you. Councillor Downing.
I too would like to recommend that the community, anyone who's interested in what we do and how we do it in the planning space, can go and have a look at this. It'll be on the council website for the next 28 days to have a look at. So this is just how the community is how council communicates with our community and engages them. So with the engagement, any feedback would be well received. I'd like to point out that we have, to make a note, that we have changed the timeframes for neighbour notification because we've had problems with mail and the timeframes have been extended from 14 days to 21, which I think is a great idea, and it just gives people that extra time to have their say. So go and have a look and let us know.
Thank you. And I would just add that as in accordance with our community engagement strategy, the draft policy will be exhibited in a number of areas, including at all the villages. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to my fellow councillors for moving the motion. In addition to Councillor Downing's comments about the extension of the neighbour period, while this might seem like people who are putting in a DA to be a little bit of an added frustration to add a week, as Councillor Downing said, we are having problems with how quickly those notifications go out with Australia Post, as I think everyone would know when they're mailing letters. And often we have received requests for extensions for that period. So I think this is a great way to meet in the middle to make sure our community has enough time to read what's there and we can have a standard throughout that works. There's a second change that has been proposed in this draft community participation plan, which is to expand the list of developments for which they will be exempt from neighbour notifications for small DAs that have minimal impact on neighbours, such as a farm building, which, while of course only being the situation where it doesn't require variation to council policy. This, I guess a bit of a balance. This will make sure there's a reduction in time for these simple DAs and will also mean a reduced cost for these DAs, which I think will be well received by our community. And I think is a good step forward in ensuring that, particularly in those simple DAs where some in our community might say, what's the point in putting in a DA? We're making it easier for you. So please make sure you're following all the correct protocols by doing so.
Further comment? Councillor Delbert.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add to the discussion tonight that that we will be ceasing formal, it is proposed, that we cease formal public notice in our local newspaper, which will help reduce fees for the applicant. And I just wanted to reassure the community that to be notified of development applications, it will be on Council's website, which you'll be able to access around the clock to get that information. And I also wanted to congratulate the director and her staff on the ease of reading this report. I really appreciate the track changes. We have a lot of policies to look at going forward, and I'm hoping that the way that you've done this is adopted going forward for us to be able to clearly see where the changes have been made and where they are relevant, and then to also have a copy that goes straight out on public exhibition. Thank you.
Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I actually considered this plan to be a perfect example of continuous improvement. You don't need to change the whole story or change the world with it, but the changes are sensible, logical, and got the potential to save our residents time and money. I was really impressed the way it was presented too. Thank you.
Thank you. I would encourage every member of the community to participate in reviewing the participation plan, and please communicate any further changes you would like, or any comments will be gratefully received. Right of reply.
Yeah, I think the input from fellow councillors adequately addresses the changes in the plan and why it's necessary to update plans from time to time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now put that recommendation. Everyone's clear about what the recommendation is, two dot points. Those in favour? Aye. Against? Declare it carried. We now move on to late reports and item 8.1, which is on a separate email. Document, whatever, yes. We do need to leave that open though, I think. He was thinking that we would move to confidential matters. So item 8.1 from the Acting Director of Corporate Services, a review of independent members' fees of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. Again, something which we have discussed at length. We have a mover, Councillor Wright, and seconded Councillor Dilbo. Councillor Wright.
Thank you. With all things that we do to improve the running of the council, it comes at a cost, and our cost to run the ARIC committee will be increasing. I won't say significantly, but the major addition is the extra member plus the extra meeting per year, which hope will enable things to be resolved in a faster manner and improvement happen quicker. It was mentioned to us that we need to offer a fee that was competitive in the marketplace to get people with the necessary qualifications, which are quite significant, the qualifications you need to be an independent member, and we need to pay for them realistically or we won't get people to apply. I also note that we can offer higher money, but we still might not get any better people at times, because people could build a business out of just attending these meetings. But we are equal to or slightly above some of the other ARIC meetings, but we need to attempt to encourage those people to apply, as was indicated by the current chairman at our information meeting. It's not just turning up for the meeting on the day. You've got to read all the reports and so forth, do your due diligence and everything, and it can be 1 or 2 days work to do the meeting on the day, so it does take time. The chairman has to liaise with the other members to ensure that they've got everything covered, and also with the general manager to make sure everything's right to run the meeting on the day. So it's not just something that just you turn up and sit and say yes and no and go home. And the other things I mentioned there, we pay superannuation on the fees, which is has become notable. It's been noted that we need to do that after a recent application through the Office of Local Government by one of the previous members on an ARIC committee in New South Wales. And other than that, I support the changes and wish the committee well. Thank you.
Seconder wish to speak?
I'd like to add an amendment. I didn't get my hand up quick enough.
Right.
Only to number 5.
Okay, we'll we'll see how that goes. So we'll see whether Councillor Wright would accept it.
Okay, so in number 5, the way that it reads is that Council instructs the ARIC that the charter be reviewed, hence my question earlier tonight, and updated in accordance with these changes. And my understanding that these changes are 1, 2, 3 and 4 above in the recommendation. I'd like to change the last 3 words with in accordance with the terms of reference changes. And I'm happy to speak to that.
Yes, you'd accept that as part of the motion.
I'll ask a question. The charter, whichever you're going to call it, it includes more than just the wage, the sitting fees and so forth. So and that's what I would have thought number 5 would also include, unless that's included in a previous one we changed tonight. And this is just asking that these changes be put in addition to the other changes that come forward. Have I had an argument between myself, have I? Or?
To be honest, I'm not sure what terms of reference mean.
Well, I think I took that one on notice before.
Yes. So would that be?
I don't think it makes much difference.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that's acceptable to you. So would you mind just repeating that?
Yep. So for number 5, where it says and updated in accordance with, and I just like to add the terms of reference changes.
Instead of these.
Yeah, please.
All right. Everyone understand that? Okay.
Sorry,
So-
can I just clarify?
Yes.
Instructs the ARIC that the charter be reviewed. Does the ARIC review the charter, or do we review the charter? Because it looks like it's a council policy.
The ARIC obviously reviews the charter.
But it looks like it's a council policy by the current, it says council policy on the first page of the charter in our papers. And it says previously reviewed by the Director of Corporate Services and the General Manager.
Madam Chairman, I know it's too late, but I think we should just leave it as it's written here, because previously we had used to have a voting delegate from council on the ARIC committee that went through the terms of reference or the charter, and we don't have that now. So we need to probably determine how the charter is to be drawn up. So we take that on reference, because I wouldn't be happy with the independent members drawing up their own terms of reference for the council audit committee.
Okay.
But if we leave it as this,
have a motion.
is that we accept the changes of the above 4. And I think the previous resolution tonight would cover the terms of reference or the charter or the committee.
I think what Councillor Watt's saying though is it a council policy, because is our ARIC not responsible? Are we not responsible for that? Are we not the governing body?
Okay. I'm at a bit of a loss to do with this, and as far as I can see it, we have a motion that is moved and seconded. So unless that's withdrawn, that's what we will need to discuss. We can then have an amendment. I thought you did accept the amendment. Right. Okay, so we now have a motion without a seconder.
I won't second it as it stands.
Do we have a seconder for the original motion? We don't have a seconder, so that motion lapses. I'll try a motion that that is based on items 1 to 4 of the recommendation, and I will move that we adopt those, because and that item 5 be discussed at a further meeting. Do I have a seconder for that? I think Councillor Kiss. So I'll just explain that the reason that I do that is that although the changes don't take effect until the 1st of July, Council will need to be advertising for members before that, and I think if we leave this till the end of May, we may be leaving it too late. Okay, so that's all I'll say as the mover. Would you like to speak?
No, thank you, Madam.
Further comments or discussion?
Yeah, I support the new recommendation of 1 to 4, because we need to outline our fees and so forth for the new ARIC committee coming in. or we won't be able to advertise for the position. And I think the terms of reference or the charter will be or maybe updated after the 1st of July. It is Council's ARIC committee, and we have to have it, but it's got to be accepted by both sides. So at the moment, I think we've only got a chairman who has to re-nominate. I think I'm not quite sure how that works, but I think at least we have those 4 things in place to be able to advertise the positions when we have to start off in July. Thank you.
Further discussion? I'll ask the director to say a few words.
If we just make one comment, my understanding is that this wording came from the previous discussions with Mr. Gillard, who's the chair. But I think my comment would be that motions 1 to 4 with a clarification for 5 seems fine, and I think it's reasonable enough to go back and seek that clarification.
Councillor Delbert.
Oh, thank you, and apologies, I've started this tonight. Hence the earlier question on what is the difference between terms of reference and committee charter. I foresee this report was coming up. It is my understanding that a committee charter would be used to help people who are applying to be on the committee, to use as a guide as to what their role would be. And it would be also my view that we as council would be responsible for putting that charter together, and hence the questioning from Councillor Watt earlier this evening. And I'm happy to leave that as we are, that we've agreed so far. I'd like to speak on points 1 to point 4, and of all the things that I've had in front of me at council, I have to say this has probably been one of the hardest ones for me to digest personally. And I'm going to take a shot at the Office of Local Government for this. Here we are with a report in front of us that has an allocation of funds for people to be on the ARIC board, and I understand that they do preparation previous before the meeting begins to ensure that everything is streamlined and that council is operating at its best performance level possible. However, I find it absolutely insulting as a councillor to think that they are above and beyond what we do in our capacity as councillors. And I find it absolutely insulting that the remuneration that we set as council, which is in line with other areas, other local government areas, and I'm glad, I'm happy to support that. But when you compare that remuneration with the fee that we get set by Office of Local Government, it's just not even comparable. We do, on average, 3 compulsory meetings a month, a committee meeting, an information meeting, and a council meeting. And if you were to divide our monthly councillor fee, it comes in at $491 a meeting, while ARIC members are getting $1,500 a meeting. We do preparation. I do hours of preparation. Our reports are getting larger and larger to read, and hence my comment earlier tonight with the track changes that it was an ease to read, and it took many, many minutes or even hours away from going back and reviewing those documents. I think it's completely and utterly unfair that our fees as councillors are capped, and yet fees for other organisations, other positions at council on boards are not. I'm insulted by it, and to the point where if I was to not re-stand and take a 4-year break as per the terms and reference, I'd be able to come back and apply for an ARIC board, only sit 4 meetings and make more money and have a lot more time at home with my family and friends. And I would like other councils that when we are away at our conferences and we talk about, many, many issues, that it's time for us to come together and really speak about the worth, the value of a councillor. We are operating multi-million-dollar organisations. We're overseeing decisions at every single meeting, and I find it absolutely insulting for the remuneration that we get. And I think that I've made my point very clear here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? I'll put the motion, items 1 to 4 of the recommendation as printed. Those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Are there any urgent matters for motions without notice?
Just a question. So we didn't, part of that motion was that we refer item 5 to another committee. That was part of the recommendation, right?
Yes, it was. Thank you. No other matters, urgent matters. And I will now take a motion to close the meeting to the public to consider the following confidential reports. Item 10.1, request for water account adjustment, assessment number 78631. And item 10.2, request for water account adjustment, assessment number 36865. These matters are considered confidential under section 10A(2)(b) of the Local Government Act, and council is satisfied that discussion of these matters in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with discussion in relation to the personal hardship of residents or ratepayers. And item 11.1, request for tender 52 of 2024, supply, delivery and or installation of guardrail and wire rope safety fencing. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A(2)(d)(1) of the Local Government Act, and council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. Can I have a mover? Councillor Kiss, seconded Councillor Downing. Any comments on that? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. We'll now wait while the we've got it